Yo fam, what's going on? Strat here from Strategic Audio, back again with another brand new video. This video is going to be a little bit different. Today we're going to be talking about finding inspiration in things around the home, around you, using your own voice, tapping on the side of a speaker or a piece of wood or something and recording it. Finding inspiration in things around you and making music out of that. Quite often, the best creativity comes out of limitation. It's like when you need something, you need to be able to create what's in your head, but you don't necessarily have all the best, most appropriate tools to do it. And that's where your creativity comes in. You're finding some way to make what it is you need to then make what you want to make, if you get what I'm saying. And that's kind of what this video is about. I'm just going to be going through like my experience with doing this and showing you some of the things that I've done, some of the little, recordings I've made of things just around the neighborhood, in my house, simple things like a spoon tapping on a cup. I'm making sounds out of them and processing them and making a beat. We'll probably try to make a little bit of a beat or a sample or something using just those things. And that's what this video is about. If you like this kind of thing, please drop the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this type of content. Also, check the links in the description. I usually leave a link down there to the website, which contains lots of free and premium samples and loops for you to check out. Anyway, let's just jump right into the video. Music can often be found in some of the most unexpected places. It is literally everywhere. You can use household appliances, spoons tapping on plates and cups, traffic noises, just simple things like the external ambiance of your neighborhood, banging on the side of a door, banging on the side of a cupboard, and they can add so much originality into your music production because you can often create sounds that no one else has ever made before. In other words, one benefit is uniqueness. No other producer will have the exact same sound in the exact same context, recorded with the exact same mic in the exact same conditions as you. Using these sounds can add like an organic touch to your music. Non-synthetic sounds can add that human touch that can really connect with people. And not to mention, using familiar sounds connects with people even more because they can recognize it. I remember one time in a Timbaland track, he used the sound of a baby in his beat and you immediately heard it. If you remember, Are You That Somebody, 1998 Aaliyah hit, Timbaland produced it and it incorporated baby sounds. I mean, what's more familiar to pretty much everybody in the world than the sound of a baby cooing or crying or laughing or whatever? Now you might ask, so how do I go about capturing these sounds if I'm maybe on a budget or maybe I don't have the first clue about how to go about it? Well, I mean, pretty much everyone walks around these days with a smartphone, and the microphones on these smartphones are pretty decent. They're not top-notch professional studio grade microphones, but they're decent enough to capture a sound that is usable in a DAW if you got even a little bit of audio editing skill. If you're a little bit more advanced or a little bit more into it or from a commercial aspect, you can get a portable recorder like a Tascam DR05X, or field microphones like directional or binaural mics are pretty much for professional use. I would say always be prepared by making sure you carry your recording device with you. If it's your smartphone, chances are you'll have no problem because we always seem to have our smartphones with us. That's the world we live in. We are in the matrix. But anyway, another tip I can give you is try your best to, wherever possible, try to record in a setting that is quiet, unless of course the ambient or background noise is a part of the aesthetic that you're looking for. So where do you even find the sounds to record? Literally everywhere. I mean, like I said before, in the home, kitchen appliances, slamming doors, banging on cupboards, cups, spoons, running water, footsteps, outside in nature, the wind, birds chirping, leaves in trees, other animal sounds, and then even more environmental sounds. You got construction noise, car engines, horns blaring, loudspeaker announcements, cars driving by, planes flying by. Using your voice and manipulating that is a big one, and a lot of people kind of overlook it. But I mean, whether you can sing or not, using your voice tends to be a good idea because you can do so much with it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you some of the bits and pieces of sounds that I've recorded just around my house, around my studio, and some of the stuff that I've taken even from just the outside world where I live here in Barbados, and take you through a short process of basically making a beat with it, or maybe if not a full beat, then some sort of melodic sample, just to give you an idea of how this can work. So what you're seeing right now here on the screen is a note from, believe it or not, my daughter's toy Mickey Mouse piano. It's a C6 note. All I did was I brought the toy piano into the studio, recorded the note into the microphone, and there you have it, a simple one shot. Brought it into the FL Studio sampler, made sure that loop points was on, did a normalize because I just wanted to boost the volume a slight bit. And what I did here, this was the original note. And I brought the crossfade up all the way. And what it does here is it makes the note play like a pad, so the note doesn't stop. Of course, everybody that uses FL Studio knows that if you're using one shots, you can come here and adjust the ADSR envelope controls. So there's no delay. The attack is all the way to the left. The hold is all the way. I just left the decay and the sustain how it was, and I got rid of the release. So now if I play like a chord progression, you're gonna get this. Something like that. Sounds like a strange little synth kind of instrument, but I kind of like the vibe of it. I actually put some effects on it, just a simple EQ, cymatics origin that gives it some saturation, chorus, and a bit of vinyl crackle, along with some movement to kind of detune it a little bit. And I think I'm gonna bring this here so that it isn't so degraded in terms of the sample rate. Yeah, I kind of like that. Remember, I also said that using your own voice is like a cheat code. So I did a bit of singing on some samples that I was making, and I sampled myself a small clip of my extremely wonderful singing voice. And this is what it was. No, I did basically the same process. It was essentially a short clip, essentially a one shot. I did the same process with the ADSR envelope controls. The same process here with the crossfade. So before I got to this part, the note was longer and it had one section where the pitch was E, or the key was E, and another section where it was F. I took off the E part so that the entire thing would be in F. And I think I forgot to mention it. Well, I didn't need to mention it last time because I recorded a C on a toy piano, so I knew it was C. But I didn't exactly know what this note was. So there's a function in Edison where once you've loaded the particular file, you right click on the file, you go to regions and detect pitch regions, and then it will give you this little indicator up here to show you what key the sample is in. Once I figured out that that key was F5 specifically, which is like the middle, that middle section of your keyboard from C5 to C6, I suppose. So it's F5. You simply come to your sampler, you come to the middle section, same section where the ADSR controls are, and you right click the, in my case it was F5, you right click that, and that tunes your sample so that you can play it across the keyboard. So now here is my crappy little vocal sample. I've actually got another vocal that I did right here, but I mean, as you can see, I took it through the same exact process, but I wasn't sure that I liked this one. So this one is interesting. I was initially trying to make a snare drum, and all I was doing was recording myself banging on the side of an old speaker. And that's the sound that I came up with, which could work as a snare drum, you know, especially if you process it in the right way. What I wanted to try to see if this could be used as a melodic instrument, like a little pluck. So I figured out that it was in the key of C sharp. See the C sharp 4 here, right? And I gave it a little less attack so that the click from the snare kind of was not there, kind of disappeared, or at least lessened quite a bit. This is also important up here. It usually starts off on resample, but if you put it on stretch, it plays across the keyboard much better. And I added a reverb, the Valhalla Supermassive, little bit of compression. So this is what came out. So this is another percussive kind of instrument that I found by literally just picking up a couple of things around this house and recording the sound of beating them together. So when I did the pitch detection, this is in the key of A sharp 4. So let's set that to A sharp 4 in this window. A sharp 4, boom. Do the usual. I put it on stretch, D-time stretching mode. I put it here on stretch, and we have a little perk. So this sample right here literally came from me just turning on my phone's voice recorder and recording the sounds of a rainy night. And I use this as like background ambience in some of my lo-fi hip hop tracks. So there you have the rain. You have a bunch of what we tend to have a lot of here in Barbados, Caribbean in general, is whistling frogs. Tiny little frogs that love it when it rains, and they come out at night especially and keep a lot of noise. Probably a few grasshoppers and crickets somewhere in there, and just the ambience of a rainy night in Barbados. So there's a lot more you can do, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how you can use these things in conjunction with maybe some more traditional instruments, soft synth, or even real instruments to make a beat or a sample or even a full song. So with these kind of synth keys that I made with my daughter's toy piano, you can either keep them like this, kind of punchy, whereas they could kind of also be a lead, or you can move the attack back a bit and soften that first transient. All right, I think that's how I'm gonna go with them for now. That's a nice simple chord progression in the key of E minor. Here, simple progression, E minor chord to a B minor chord, E minor 7, E minor, B minor again. Fix that. Then we kind of drop down B minor here to G major, B minor 7 here and here, then G major 7. And that's it, back to the E minor. Add a little percussion instrument here. Nothing too fancy, keep it simple. One adjustment you can make when you have a vocal, always make sure that you set it to cut itself, by the way. You can turn it into a mono instrument here and give it some slide. Unless of course you want to play like harmonies, like if you want it to have a choir effect. If you wanted to have a choir effect, obviously you don't do this. But I've done it with this little vocal sample, and that I've turned into this essentially a vocal pad, and let's see how it fits with what we've created so far. All right, not too shabby. Now for a more traditional instrument, a simple Rhodes. Alright, let's add some drums, some more traditional boom bap drums. Alright, time for some bass. Alright guys, so that was just an example of what you can do if you don't have a lot of virtual instruments or real instruments, and you can find stuff around the house. You can record your voice, you can record yourself beating on pots and pans and on walls and doors, and manipulate those little sounds, turn them into pads, use them basically as they are, just probably add a lot of different effects and distortion and other types of processing to them, and really make something completely original, completely fresh. And as you can hear, you can make a beat with them. All I really added was a Rhodes, some pretty standard classic boom bap drums, and the bass, and everything else was from my voice and from stuff that I recorded by banging stuff around the house. And if you wanted to, you could take that whole process a lot further. Part of what I was doing just now was using the pitch shift and the time stretch to manipulate the sound and create sometimes unique tones. Also, you're using your EQ to isolate certain frequencies, remove noise, and sometimes you can use very narrow bands to accentuate a particular frequency and bring out a tone in something like a percussive instrument. And with the right type of processing and manipulation, you could even turn that percussive instrument with that tone, once you identify the key, into a pad or a lead or a synth, something completely original, completely yours. You can record a bunch of sounds, or just leave a particular recording running and record a piece of ambience, an atmosphere, chop that up into little bits and use those as percussive elements. Even you can create even drum sounds from that. You can get a bunch of recorded sounds, process each one and layer them together to create something completely new from that. And I mean, you could even go the route of using granular synthesis to completely modify some of those sounds. Lots of popular artists, lots of really big multi-platinum artists in the history of music have used these techniques. Bjork and Imogen Heap come to mind. And this doesn't need to be overwhelming. You can start very small. Record a single sound, process it, do what you need to do to make it your own, and then build an entire beat or sample around it. Always try to experiment with different effects to create new textures. Or if you've got a finished track that's got like even a whole band of traditional instruments, you could use everyday sounds to complement, add little accents, whooshes, whatever you need, sound effects, and that can take your sound from just okay to maybe great. The whole world can be your sample library if you're willing to open your ears and open your mind to the possibilities and get creative. Maybe drop a comment down below and let me know what is the most interesting sound you've ever sampled, or the most interesting sound you think would be cool to sample. So I want to thank you for watching. I hope that this was informative. Don't forget to like, subscribe, even share this video with your producer friends if you have any. Again, links in the description to all of my free and premium loop kits and samples if you're so interested. And without further ado, I'm going to play for you the finished version of that beat that I made for this video. Peace, and I'll see you in the next video.